Hello students! Welcome back to our session on History of Art. In our previous lessons, you have learned about Greek and Roman art. Today, you will discover the most famous and fascinating Renaissance art. The phenomenon known as the classical Renaissance art is one of the benchmark stops of any tour through the history of Western culture. It is an expansion for religious interpretation, scientific discovery, exploration of new lands, and the flourishing of the arts. Renaissance art is a movement that originated in Italy in the 15th century, 1250 Common Era to 1570 Common Era, derived from the Italian word Rinascimento. Renaissance is the rebirth of an enlightened age of art and architecture in classical antiquity. Classical antiquity refers to the period of cultural history between the 8th century before Christ and the 6th century Anno Domini, centered on the Mediterranean Sea. It comprised of interlocking civilizations of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, known as the Greco-Roman world. The Renaissance period emerged from Goethe's painting, which emphasized on the human form as a dominant aspect of painting and sculpture. His painting, Lamentation, is full of human emotions on Jesus' death and is a turning point in the history of art. The atmosphere is imbued with deep sorrow, strong emotions, and grief, and is noticeably innovative in paving the way for future innovations in art. From the idealism of Greco-Roman art, the Renaissance has brought realism and illustrates how a lost vigor and grandeur has re-emerged. Renaissance was not about copying from classical artworks, but was rather an inspiring force for artists to develop their own artistic styles. It was a time of creativity and experimentation. Great masters such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael created famous drawings, paintings, and sculptures that are today precious references of history of art. Renaissance art is classified into 5 characteristics. Classicism, emphasis on human figure. Realism and expression. Perspective, and lastly, light and shade. Masaccio was a Florentine artist who is regarded as the first great Italian painter of the Italian Renaissance. According to Vasari, he was the best painter of his generation because of his skill at imitating nature, recreating lifelike figures and movements, as well as a convincing sense of three-dimensionality. The Tribute Money is a fresco painting which narrates part of a cycle on the life of Saint Peter and describes a scene from the Gospel of Matthew. Masaccio was also one of the first painters to incorporate Brunelleschi's discovery, linear perspective, in his art. In his fresco painting, The Holy Trinity, we can observe the orthogonals in the edges of the coffers in the ceiling converging towards one vanishing point. Chiaroscuro is a technical term used by artists and art historians for the use of strong contrast between light and dark to achieve a sense of volume in modeling three-dimensional objects and figures, hence affecting a whole composition. An example is the Matchmaker of Gerrit van Honthorst. Leonardo da Vinci pioneered the technique of sfumato in order to soften the transition from light to dark, derived from the Italian word fumo. Sfumato means smoke. In his notes on painting, Da Vinci says that light and shade should blend without lines or borders in the manner that gradually vanishes like smoke. Painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the 16th century, circa 1503 to 1506, La Gioconda, also known as the Mona Lisa, is one of the most emblematic portraits in the history of art. Leonardo da Vinci mastered scientific and anatomical knowledge and rendered his painting more vivid and lively through the combination of chiaroscuro and sfumato. Let us now have a look at the famous masterpieces of the Renaissance artists. The Last Supper of Leonardo da Vinci depicts a famous scene from the Holy Thursday in which Jesus and his apostles share a final meal before his death and resurrection. Observe how linear perspective has been beautifully mastered on the background of this painting. The Creation of Adam is a fresco painting by Michelangelo which forms part of the Sistine Chapel ceiling, painted circa 1508 to 1512. This painting illustrates the biblical creation narrative from the book of Genesis, in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. The focal point of this painting is the contact between the fingers of God and those of Adam, through which the breath of life is transmitted. By not painting the fingers of God and Adam touching and leaving a small space between the two, Michelangelo creates a tingling tension and anticipation of that wonderful moment. The School of Athens is a fresco by the Italian Renaissance artist Raphael. It was painted between 1509 and 1511 as a part of Raphael's commission to decorate the rooms now known as Stanze di Raffaello in the Apostolic Palace in the Vatican. This painting represents all the greatest mathematicians, philosophers, and scientists from the classical antiquity gathered together, sharing their ideas and learning from each other. It is also a fine example of architectural perspective, with a central vanishing point marking the high point of the classical Renaissance. Dear students, I hope you have enjoyed this enriching lesson on history of art. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.